everyone. Thanks for joining the webcast. We'll get started shortly here. All right, hello ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the Johnson Controls webinar, Commercial Refrigeration Solutions with PENN and Verasys. I'm Madhavan Chitsky, Product Marketing Manager for Johnson Controls. I'm speaking to you from our headquarters in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'll be your moderator during the webinar. In today's presentation, you'll discover a simplified connected solution with the combination of Verasys configurable building control system with the contemporary technologies in PENN commercial refrigeration. Our product experts will provide an overview on the evolution of the commercial refrigeration market and how the integration of intelligent controls not only offers reliability and energy efficiency, but also provides a simple user experience that is easy to understand, to install, and auto-discovers other smart devices. Finally, you'll get a glimpse into the Verasys enterprise capabilities for the most efficient portfolio applications for multiple sites, including enablement of predictive technologies and reduced operating costs. Before we begin, let me go through a couple of housekeeping items. First, you'll be able to ask questions to our presenters. At any time during the presentation, you can submit your questions via the chat button, or you can use the Q&A feature on your console. We'll respond to your questions after the presentation. And finally, a recording of today's topic will be made available to you shortly after the webinar. Now it's my honor to introduce today's presenters. First, we have Tony Leguiza. Tony is the General Manager for the Commercial Refrigeration Business Unit at Johnson Controls. With over 12 years of global commercial refrigeration industry experience, Tony has held various engineering, program management, and leadership roles. In his current role, he sets the strategic direction for the business unit and leads a global team. Tony also holds various board positions across nonprofit organizations and has several degrees in engineering and business management. We also have with us Chris Stillman, who is the Business Development Manager for Johnson Controls Building Technologies and Solutions. In his current position, Chris sets the strategic direction for Verasys in the mid-market BAS business. During his 15-year career in North American building controls industry, he's held a variety of roles in project management, account management, and sales leadership. Chris is a 6-year veteran of the United States Air Force and holds a Bachelor of Science in Professional Aeronautics from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and an MBA from the University of Arizona. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Tony and Chris.
Hi, thank you, Madhavan. This is Tony Leguiza speaking now. So first of all, I thank you for joining the webinar. I look forward for us a good conversation and presenting you our connected refrigeration solutions and integrated with our Verasys BAS. So before we kick off the presentation, we want to get a good view of kind of the delineation of the attendees. So if you could answer this poll over the next 30 seconds or so, we'd appreciate it. We'll share the results right after. Okay, great. Looks like we have a pretty good mix here of HVAC, refrigeration, and building automation system participants. So it's nice to see a good cross-section, and that gives us a better indication of where we should focus some of the material and conversation. So thank you. All right, so just before we get too far into the product, we wanted to give you an indication kind of where we've been As Madhavan stated, I run the PENN Commercial Refrigeration Controls business, and I want to give you a little bit of backstory about PENN. In 1919, the business was founded by Ralph and Albert PENN out in Des Moines, Iowa. This really was a business around a principle of a simple switch mechanism, which was later patented in 1924. Interestingly enough, the design of this switch has evolved over the years, and it continues to be a key component with many of the PENN products today. And in 1968, after the PENN Instrument Company had been in business for over 50 years, the Johnson Service Company acquired PENN, bringing them into the Johnson Controls family and acquiring the manufacturing locations both in Goshen, Indiana, and Leeuwarden in the Netherlands. And finally, our first introduction into electronic controls for PENN happened in 1986 when it introduced its first electronic temperature control system, which is the System 350. That product is still being manufactured today, and the evolution continues with the System 450, which was introduced a few years ago. That was a little bit about our past. Want to talk to you a little bit about where we are today and where we're going to be taking the portfolio and driving the business forward. You know, embarking on a century of innovation in controls and commercial refrigeration expertise. When I talk to industry and I talk to individuals that are familiar with the PENN product line, they always come back with the same attributes: a very reliable, high quality product that can be counted on, that provides, it does what it's meant to do in different pieces of equipment. And these were primarily electromechanical devices. Where we're going in the future, and as you'll learn today about some of the new products we've introduced, we're driving into the electronic portfolio of controls for commercial refrigeration. We're introducing cloud-based technologies and integrations into BAS solutions so we can better serve equipment and our customers at the end of the day. Next slide, Chris. Just a quick overview here regarding the PENN product portfolio. Many of you, I see some recognizable names in the attendee list, are quite familiar with our temperature, electromechanical temperature and pressure devices such as A19, P70s, P78. These products have been, protecting refrigerated food and perishable goods for over a century now, and primarily have been well adopted across not only the North American market, but across the globe. When we look at where we need to be going in the future, the three common or most important devices within the refrigeration circuit is the compressor, the heat exchangers, and the metering device. We're going to talk today about where we play it within the refrigeration cycle, as well as introducing products around metering and our electronic cold room and case control devices. Next slide. So first, I want to introduce to you the MR5 case controller. So this is it's designed for refrigerated cases with full defrost functionality. This is typically going to be found in showcase displays within supermarkets and convenience stores. Appropriate for small freezers, chest freezers, bottle coolers that you'll find most commonly in those applications and buildings. Some of the features include plain English programming. So if you're familiar with case controllers, quite often you need a book and you need to decipher what kind of codes are coming across the screen. With the MR5 and the A525, you'll notice we have a plain English display, and actually can be programmed into 12 different languages as well. So we not only serve the North American English-speaking market, but across the globe we can program it with French or other languages as well. This will enable the end user or whoever is configuring the device to easily identify the parameters and set the configuration appropriately for the device and the equipment it's controlling. Regarding defrost, we have several different defrost functionality included in the control. This includes scheduling and also has adaptive defrost algorithms to provide higher energy efficiency and ease of mind, knowing that the defrost cycle is continuing to learn and become easier to meet defrost termination and reduce energy costs. Lastly, we'll talk about the integrations between our expansion valve and superheat controller, so we can have direct access to superheat setup and set points through the controller, and Chris will share later around alarming and messaging, data logging, asset reporting through the Verasys BAS. So next up is a product that was released towards the end of our fiscal year in 18, which is about 3.5 months ago. It's the A525. This is a cold room control. So again, this provides refrigerated space control and defrost control for medium and low temp applications. Similar features to the MR5 in terms of plain English programming and simple configuration through our Verasys building automation solution. Defrost configuration, same as MR5, just expandable footprint, higher relay outputs for the larger tonnage applications you'll find in walk-in coolers and freezers versus the case controlling. Again, we have Modbus communication to our precision superheat controller, and I'll talk about that a little bit further in the next coming up slides. So at a high level, I want to talk to you about our quick response expansion valve. I think if you look across the industry, you see stepper motor and pulse width modulation type electronic expansion valves quite commonly found in the industry. We've taken a different approach. We're bringing together tested and true technology that was based out of the automotive and silicone industry, which includes MEMS. MEMS are microelectromechanical systems. So on the next slide, we're going to pause here, but you'll see the MEMS module itself is very small, actually the size of about the tip of a pencil lead. So very small. This is technology that was born in the automotive anti-lock braking system. So when you step on your brake pedal and you feel the pulsation, that's the same technology we're leveraging here within an electronic expansion valve. Within this valve portfolio, we have capacity ranges. Go back, Chris. Sorry, 1 second. We have capacity ranges from 1/2 ton up to 50 tons, rated at 410A refrigerant. The neat thing about this, and we'll talk and share with you some test data, is the response time on the valve from fully open to fully closed is 0.25 seconds. So 25 milliseconds from fully open to fully closed. If you're familiar with stepper motor or pulse width modulation type valves, it takes them typically 5 to 9 seconds for them to complete a full stroke. In turn, you'll see in the test data, this allows us to hold superheat at a much tighter bandwidth, which provides much better energy efficiency and evaporator efficiency in the refrigeration application. It also features a 2-stage valve powered by a silicone servo valve, and is compatible with 17 different refrigerants, includes closed loop control with the integrated pressure transducer that's on board with the superheat controller. Next slide. So taking a deeper look at the actual MEMS silicone interface for the electronic expansion valve, it has 3 different layers here of silicone: the electrical layer, an actuating element, and a fluid interface. So if you look at the animation to the right, in the lower left-hand side of the animation, you see 3 ribs. What we're doing there is we're pulsing energy into the silicone, which is causing a heat transfer to occur into the silicone, which causes the ports to open and close according to how we're pulsing the energy into the silicone. This is how we meter the refrigerant through the valve, and we're allowed to control superheat much tighter at a very efficient process here. So it relies upon several different elements, primarily an electrothermal actuation principle. This is very good in high or low flow capacity applications. So as load varies quite dynamically in refrigeration with doors opening and closing quite often, our valve is very good at adapting and performing well within those dynamic and transient type conditions. Fine control resolution, I talked about the pulse width modulation base, and that's how we're energizing the silicone. And the packaging solution is very, very simple. Solder to substrate, and then standard wire bonding technology. Next slide. I want to share with you just a few points of data that we've conducted internally at Johnson Controls, comparing our QREV valve and other electronic expansion valves you'll find in the industry. So this first graph here is just showing target superheat of both an electronic expansion valve, which uses stepper motor, versus our QREV using the MEMS base. We're able to maintain superheat at a lower temperature. First and foremost, that'll provide more energy, more efficiency for the evaporator, and also we're able to reach superheat target at a much quicker time than our competition. As you know, achieving superheat, protecting the compressor, and maintaining the target superheat is paramount to be having a highly efficient refrigeration system. So the next piece of data I'll share with you is around a cooler with no load. As you can imagine, cycle rates with no load might be very fast, and pull down time should be quick. All right, so a no load cabinet, we pull down from a saturated temperature about almost half the amount of time required to achieve pull down versus a TXV. And again, you'll see the quick pull down time and achieving our superheat target, temperature target, much quicker than a thermal expansion valve. And last piece of data we'll share here is a couple conditions that I think all of the OEMs, and you'll find out in the field, are very interested in. First and foremost being a fully block coil. Within this condition, our QREV achieves desired temperature of the case within 47 minutes from a saturated temperature of just above 20 degrees down to -10 versus 56 minutes for a thermal expander valve. What's that mean to the end user? It's less energy, all right? Less runtime on the compressor. We're achieving higher quality food at the end of the day, or whatever the perishable goods might be within the case. And the last point here is around defrost recovery. Every time your piece of equipment goes into defrost, it's important for the equipment to achieve the desired case temperature as quickly as possible. As you can see in the graph, the QREV outperforms the TXV hands down. Next slide, Chris. I'm going to take a pause here. I share with you a lot of information about some of our new products within commercial refrigeration. That's not the story to tell today. Really, the story is going to be about connected refrigeration. How do we bring not only the control within the equipment, but how do we connect that into a building automation, provide visibility across the enterprise? And that's what Chris is going to share with you about Verasys. So take about 30 seconds and answer this poll question for us, and we'll share the results, and I'll pass it over to Chris.
So thanks, Tony. Again, my name is Chris Silman. Appreciate everyone taking the time to attend today. As Manavan had mentioned, I'm actually the business development manager for Verasys over on the West Coast. We do have a few other team members. Randy Elvis actually manages the East Coast for Verasys, and then Han Danishmend heads up our team, and we have a whole group of applications and engineers in place to help support those solutions as well. Today specifically, I'll be talking a little bit about how Verasys ties in with PENN and some of the new and exciting features that we put together from a PENN perspective and a plug-and-play building controls approach. In terms of the poll, looks like we've had about just a little under 70% have no experience installing Verasys. So this will be a nice introduction to the group to give you an overview of what Verasys is and how we can help you achieve goals from a refrigeration perspective, and what types of facilities and opportunities this may play into. So before I get started talking about Verasys specifically, just want to frame up how it's different from typical BAS or your more complex BAS. When we look at other building automation systems, you generally have a supervisory device or a network engine that handles all the control and the coordination of all of your field controllers that you would see in the bottom section of the slide below. Intelligent standalone devices, they basically receive all their commands from those network engines or supervisory devices in the center of the slide. But all of the point mapping and the programming, any of the scheduling, the alarming, and the trending, that's all actually accomplished through those network engines. And we're basically telling those devices below, the programmable actions that they're supposed to be taking to control your facilities from an HVAC, a lighting, or a refrigeration perspective. And then from a data perspective, in terms of trends and alarms and audits, you would typically have to have application data servers in place, and you would be going and viewing all that data through a browser. And we do that in Verasys, but we handle things a little bit differently. And that the solution, when we designed Verasys, the vision was to create a controls platform that would really serve the light commercial market. And we're focusing on those facilities that are anywhere from, say 5 or 10,000 square feet to 100,000 square feet. And what we wanted to do was create a solution that was truly plug and play. So as you see in the bottom section of the slide below, you'll see some of our field controllers, such as the zoning device, or our rooftop units, or our PENN refrigeration controller in the center, or our TEC 3000s from a single zone HVAC application perspective. All of those controllers actually come embedded with the smart equipment technology directly from the factory. So what we're doing is essentially those controllers, once you hook them up via BACnet MSTP connection, the smart building hub, which is kind of the brains in a sense, more like the tunneling device to be able to utilize as a web server or the user interface to go in and talk to those application controllers. We hook those up, they're addressed, and they're auto-recognized by the smart building hub. So you're really just going through and doing a very simple configuration. And that's a great feature set from the PENN perspective, because we've got the MR5, and that from a case controller approach would, you'd basically go in, install that component in your facility or your refrigerated case, and you're going to be able to hook that up to the Verasys Smart Building Hub and address it, and now you've got a full-blown access to that system with a Wi-Fi enabled web server, and then you can also access that solution via Ethernet port remotely through any mobile device, a tablet, a PC, or your cell phone.
So Chris, would that relate to
sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Would that relate to a lower installed cost and much quicker commissioning?
It would. On average, we've done some comparisons with various system types, and we're typically about 30% to 40% of the cost of a more complex BAS when you look at Verasys compared to, say, Metasys or Facility Explorer. And the majority of that savings comes in with not having to do a lot of the point mapping and the scheduling and the alarms, and you're configuring those items. So it's already built into the controllers. So you don't have to go in and say, this point is specific to whatever device we're trying to control. These things are auto-recognized, and we're not having to create a lot of the graphing and those items that you would see in a more complex BAS.
Very cool.
Yep, it's a nice solution, especially from if we're looking at convenience stores or even smaller supermarkets. The two solutions definitely play great together. In terms of advantages, again, we deliver the full building automation system, all the qualities that you would get without the complexities. So again, plug and play. We designed it so it could be installed by a mechanical contractor. We've got a growing suite of equipment, systems, and solutions to apply. And one of the great features of Verasys is we're actually building out an application library. And we've got our VAC 1000 and 3000 series controllers. They basically come from the factory with a thumb drive on them, or the capability to plug a thumb drive in. And you could go to verasyscontrols.com and you can download specific applications, whether it's a constant volume unit or you're looking at boilers or chillers. You could basically put those applications on a thumb drive and you would plug it directly into those devices, and now you've got a fully configurable boiler or chiller controller. And then again, as Tony had mentioned, we see a big reduction in terms of the cost per square foot in installation with the light commercial market, which obviously delivers a value to your customer. We were trying to develop something from a controls perspective that would meet some of those paybacks that were generally a little bit harder to achieve in those smaller facilities, just given their energy cost might be a little bit lower due to facility size, and this really meets those objectives. And then from an ecosystem perspective, just starting in the bottom left-hand side of the screen, we've got the zone coordinator. So we've got a single model that is capable of doing either VAV or changeover bypass VVT systems. You basically just change what type of system you're doing, within the configuration in the smart building hub. So a very simple approach to changing what system type you want to do. We can handle third-party multi-zone applications from an HVAC perspective as well. So if you got Train or Carrier, we've got a VEC 100 controller that can handle those. And then for third-party single-zone HVAC units, we can also use our TEC 3000 series. You'll see those are the black devices with the temperature pictured. Those are going to be available in early 2019. It's an update to our current version of the TEC 3000s. Really nice look. You can actually order those in black or white, and they'll be color screens instead of the monochrome that you're used to. And then the ZFR gives us the Zigbee Pro capability to be able to connect to those wirelessly if you choose. So there's two models, wireless or wired. Simplicity Smart Equipment, so any JCI branded units, rooftop units, they actually come Simplicity Smart Equipment enabled up to 40 tons. There's a new release coming that'll give some of those units capabilities up to 50 tons. But with a very simple backnet card connection and a smart building hub, those units talk directly to the smart building hub, and now you've got a BAS just by adding that COM card and the smart building hub in. And then the real great features are from the refrigeration perspective. Tony talked about the MR5. That's currently Verasys capable. So if you hook up an MR5 and address it, Verasys is going to recognize that device, and now you've got refrigeration capabilities, viewing remotely, temperatures, and being able to look at defrost schedules and configure all of those very simply. And then we're going to do the same thing with the A525 walk-in cooler freezer. so medium temp, low temp application controller. And that's coming up sometime in early 2019. And then I had talked about the application controllers already. We also have energy metering capabilities. So that's great, even from a refrigeration perspective, if you're trying to monitor specific loads with Verasys on those cases or whatnot, you can do that very simply from a plug and play perspective with our solution. And then we've also got bypass damper controllers and VAV and changeover bypass controllers. And with that, we'll just ask another quick question, just to get an idea after you kind of heard a little bit about the two solutions together. What type of opportunities do you see the PENN and the Verasys being successful as a combined solution in? So we'll give you about 30 seconds and then share those results with the group. Okay, so good. It looks like supermarkets actually took the prize there. So it was about 43% there and 39% with convenience stores. And again, it's a really good fit for both of those opportunities, and restaurants are actually a great space for PENN and Verasys to play in together, because you do have a lot of walk-ins in restaurants, and you may even have situations where you have some of those smaller refrigerated display cases. Looks like we had a few ice rinks as well too, so thanks for the feedback on that. And then in terms of advantages, I think we've talked about that quite a bit already, but again, just want to really hit home on the fact that this is truly plug and play. We've had all the intelligence embedded in the design at the factory with those application controllers. So we really wanted it to be a plug and play solution. Once you hook things up and address them, you're really just doing a very simple configuration within Verasys to reduce your installation and again, no field installation costs, I should say, and then no field programming needed, no software tools required. Again, you don't have to have a controls vendor perform the installation on this. We've got a great enterprise management solution available to help, when you're dealing with a portfolio of sites, if you've got a convenience store chain or a small supermarket chain or even restaurants, and I'll dive into that a little bit deeper here shortly. And then the real advantage is the remote connectivity and the notification anytime, anywhere. So once this system's set up and you've got it connected to a static or dynamic IP address, you can access the Smart Building Hub via your cell phone or your tablet or your PC. And we've also got the capability to do text alarms and email alarms. So that can go directly to an installing contractor from a service perspective or the end user themselves, and just a great feature set. And then just to give you an overview of kind of what the interface looks like from a PENN perspective, on the left-hand side of the screen here, you'll see what our refrigeration tab looks like. So if you were to log into a Smart Building Hub, you would actually see these tabs at the top, so you can see HVAC, lighting, and we've drilled into the refrigeration section. And you can see here we've got an MR5 connected with a frozen veggie case, and the view on the right-hand side shows you what it looks like once you actually hit that plus symbol on the left. So you get a nice view of the temperature in the case. We can actually see that refrigeration's on with the blue snowflake. If defrost was on, we'd be able to see that. If there's any alarming within that case, we can actually click on the alarm bill and get the alarm bell, I should say, and you can get quick access to the history of alarms and current alarms within that case. And then the link to the frozen veggies on the next screen, we see once you click on that, you can actually get the view of what it looks like from a configuration perspective. So on the left-hand side of the image there, you'll see that we can actually go into the system setup and change temperature control or refrigeration setup or even defrost control and scheduling. And then you'll be able to, again, view the status and control remotely as long as that MR5 or eventually the A525 is connected to a static IP address or dynamic IP address.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead and take a pause there real quick. Want to make out one
Yep.
other point too. Within the Verasys solution, if we go back to that previous slide in the configuration of the MR5, and you get into the refrigeration setup, if you have the MR5 or A525 along with the QREV and the Superheet controller, so if you had the Johnson Controls bundle of products from expansion valve back to enterprise solution, you'd actually be able to drill down into Superheet. So you can imagine as the environments and ambient conditions change, you can have the ability to change Superheet within a certain case, all remotely from the cloud. That's going to prevent us from having to roll trucks and spend money to go ahead and adjust Superheat. So fantastic feature there. Just wanted to point that out to everybody as well. So Superheat can be addressed and configured and changed on the fly from Verasys to the controller.
Thanks, Tony. And then just to give you an overview of what trending will look like right now with the MR5, the trending capability, you would actually have to use a thumb drive to go and pull those trends, but it's on the roadmap to add that to Verasys, so it would be built into the controller itself, and you would essentially be able to go in and monitor or look at a history of what case temperatures were, or defrosts, or things along those lines. And then the A525 will also have those capabilities as well once it's fully Verasys capable. And then just to give you a quick overview of the enterprise, again, it's a great cloud-based application portfolio management tool. So this specifically is designed to help either contractors or facility managers who are actually serving multiple locations to be able to go and manage their whole suite of facilities within a single platform. So if you're looking to, from a supermarket or a convenience store perspective, if we've got a chain of stores or 50 sites or plus, you'd be able to go in and, be able to drill down into your smart building hub within all of those facilities with this enterprise feature that you would see on the top right-hand side of the screen here. So there's a map view that's available or a tree view on the left-hand side, and I apologize, that might be a little small to see. But within the map view, if you had, 50 convenience stores or supermarkets where you had Verasys and PENN together, you'd be able to click down into the site specifically from the map view, and you can get an overview of what's going on, go directly into the smart building hub and view alarms or case temperatures within your facility, adjust lighting schedules, and then on the right-hand side of that screen, if we had alarms at the facility, we would see what types of alarms we have, whether or not they're critical or service priority, how many there are across the entire fleet of stores. You get similar features from an HVAC, lighting, and energy perspective. We have the ability to do trending within the enterprise as well, so you can see some of that on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So we're getting some great details in terms of what's going on from an energy perspective within the facility. And then some of the features within enterprise, we have reporting. We've got the ability to do some more long-term trending with the enterprise solution. You can handle remote control of set points and scheduling. So if we need to make a set point change across 50 sites, we can actually do that with enterprise. in terms of like more of a single click type approach, as opposed to having to go in and change schedules or temperatures, one site at a time. We can trend energy consumption on our refrigerated cases or walk-ins directly within that solution as well. And then we're also working on the capabilities to handle some automatic command response and real-time price controls. And with that, I'll just sum it up from a Verasys perspective, and I'll pass it over to Tony, and then I think we're going to open it up to questions. But just want to really hit home that, Verasys with PENN, it's a great solution. It gives you the capability to reduce some of the install and operating costs that you would see in a more complex BAS. Now you've got the ability to do remote connectivity to your systems from a commercial refrigeration perspective. We really wanted to put together a solution that could streamline the installation process, as well as the commissioning and servicing, and then give you the ability to access all of that critical data when and how and where you need it. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Tony.
All right, thank you, Chris. So in summary, I think I want to wrap this up by first of all thanking everyone for their time today. Want to remind everyone we're going to have time for a question and answer period. So if you could use the dashboard within the GoToMeeting, you'll have the capability to ask questions there in your control panel, and we'll get responses back to you during this webinar. And again, to echo Chris's thoughts there, really PENN, Verasys, JCI, our strategy is around leveraging our strengths across controls and equipment to provide a better user outcome and user experience for our customers. So if you've got thoughts around connected refrigeration, connected HVAC, there's features and use cases that maybe we haven't thought about, I encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to your contacts within Johnson Controls, and let's have a conversation. Really, we're doing this to serve our customer better, and that is our intent. So with that, we'll wrap it up. And one last thing, though, I must say, PENN is celebrating 100 years come January. So if you happen to be at AHR, please do stop by the booth, say hello to us. We'll be doing some celebratory things throughout the year within 19, but it's a tremendous milestone for this business to be able to celebrate 100 years of business. So I'm going to wrap it up with that, and look forward to answering some questions and hopefully meeting some of you soon.
Great. Thank you, Chris and Tony. That was a great presentation. Again, I want to remind our audiences that if you have any questions, please submit them via the chat button, or you can use that Q&A feature that's on your console. We do have a few questions that's coming in now. The first one, Chris, this one is for you with regards to Verasys. How do I locate any training tutorials or resources for the system?
So, great question. Best resource available for the time being is verasyscontrols.com. And if you go to that site, on the top right-hand side of the screen, you would click on Partners Login, and you basically register for access to that website. And Manavan, I think it takes maybe a day or so to get people access once they've requested registration. And within that website, you'll have access to all of our training videos that we've developed for Verasys. So how to, in terms of installation, configuration of the system. We have access to all of the marketing materials as well. So you can actually order marketing materials right from verasyscontrols.com. All of our riser diagrams, or we've got a whole package of Visio diagrams put together, so you can download that package and basically cater your project, specific to whatever your site is. Just a very good resource there. Also YouTube, we do have a channel there as well with those videos housed. We've got a selection tool that Mike Benelli, if people are familiar with him, he's put together a great Verasys selection tool, and that's something that if it's not already on verasyscontrols.com, I can actually get that out to the group as needed. But it's an excellent tool to be able to go walk through the process of setting up your specific job, so you can build out your bill of materials. There's links to all of the spec sheets where the part numbers are housed within that selection tool. And once you build out a bill of materials, it'll even put together a list of videos based on the project that you're putting together that'll tell you you should watch these based on your specific project.
Great, thank you, Chris. Tony, we have a question for you with regards to PENN. Can the PENN products work with any other building automation system?
Yeah, great question there. So yes, to answer very specifically, the A525 and MR5 have a various communication protocols that they support. So not only is it Verasys compatible with the smart equipment model, but also we speak open BACnet over MSTP, so compatible with Metasys, Facilities Explorer, or other BAS, as well as a Modbus communication port for other third-party master type slave integrations as well. So hopefully that answers your question, but yes, we definitely speak multiple communication protocols.
Great, thank you, Tony. Another related question here with regards to MR5 and A525. When is that going to be available with the Verasys compatibility?
So today the MR5 is available as a Verasys communicating product. We're in the process of releasing the A525. It's currently in beta and being piloted at a couple locations with Verasys communications. We're looking to release that later in December. So you'll look for it late December, early January for A525 to be communicating to both Verasys and all other BAS via BACnet, MSTP, or Modbus.
Great, thank you, Tony. Chris, there's a question for you with regards to Verasys. The Verasys Smart Building Hub, how many devices is that limited to?
So you can actually do up to 100 connected devices to a single smart building hub, and that's what's on the FC bus, which is the main bus on the smart building hub. Below that, when you get down into your zone coordinator, you can actually hook up to the VAV boxes that go more on the zone bus. They don't count towards those 100 devices. So if you're looking at Verasys from a light commercial perspective, 100 rooftop units, that's a pretty large facility. So it's and there are capabilities to add additional smart building hubs as well. So you're not limited to just one. So if you needed to move beyond those 100 devices, you can always add in another SBH or smart building hub.
Great, thank you. I do have another question here that came in, and this is around the Verasys Enterprise that you presented. The question is there a cost associated with using the cloud for long-term data storage or trending?
Yes, there is a cost associated with that, and right now it's list pricing based on number of sites. We are in the process of really trying to build out the enterprise solution, though. So if there's an opportunity there where we've got 50 or 100 sites, once we get up into those larger number of sites, we're looking at those on an individual basis. So we can work with you based on the opportunity and try to drive some of those costs down based on the total opportunity. And if you have questions around specifics in terms of cost from a list price perspective, I can actually get that out as well.
Great, thank you. And Tony, this question's for you. Is this combined system for both retrofits and new construction projects?
Absolutely, Banavan. So the application and the products we spoke about today are both applicable for new construction and most definitely retrofits, especially looking at refrigeration or refrigerant changes within a C-store or supermarket, going from a high GWP refrigerant to something lower or natural refrigerants. Most often the case, the equipment's going to be, heat exchangers might be changed out, and you have an opportunity at that point in time to replace both the expansion valves and controllers to go along with the solution. So retrofits, there's always opportunity there for us.
Okay, very good. We have one final question here. Will the C450 have a version for Verasys?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I can pleasantly tell you that we have a BACnet MSTP version, a module coming out for System 450, and this will be easily consumed into the Verasys ecosystem. So to answer you directly, yes, we're definitely going to make sure that all of our products coming forward that are electronics capable and communication capable are going to be ingrained with the smart equipment brand and be able to be consumed within the Verasys ecosystem. So plug and play across the board for PENN.
Great, thank you. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our webcast. I want to thank Chris and Tony for presenting and sharing their expertise. Please keep an eye out for the recording of the webinar that will be delivered directly to your inbox in the next few days. And finally, on behalf of Johnson Controls, thank you for attending.